Hey guys, it's Alicia. Today I'm going to be showing you an example of something that I do quite a bit, and that is taking a recipe that looks really good to me, that is not Weight Watcher friendly, and making a couple changes to it, or a few changes to it, so that it is Weight Watcher friendly. I love doing this because I still like to have my comfort foods regardless of whether I am on Weight Watchers or not. A lot of times all that requires is just making a few changes to a recipe and you can still have your comfort food. So today's recipe is an example of comfort food to me, and that is gonna be the Pioneer Woman's chicken spaghetti casserole. With just a few changes to this, it'll go from not Weight Watcher friendly to Weight Watcher friendly. I will make sure and link the recipe that I'm gonna be adapting down below, as well as always, I will have my ingredients and instructions how I'm gonna be doing this. So let me jump in and show you what you're gonna need to make this. First off, I've got 2 large chicken breasts here. I'm aiming to get about 16 ounces of meat out of this once they're cooked. Here I've got 1.5 cups of low-fat cheese. Here is 1 onion, finely chopped, and about 1/4 cup of a green pepper and 1/4 cup of a red bell pepper chopped. Here I have 8 ounces of thin whole wheat spaghetti, and here is 4 cups of fat-free chicken broth. Back here I've got a can of Fit Active cream and mushroom soup. That's just a low-fat soup. And then for seasoning, I'm gonna be using a little Lori seasoned salt, some chili powder, and some fresh ground black pepper. You can also use salt if you want, but I am not gonna be doing that today. First thing I'm gonna do is take a medium-sized pot here, and in it I'm gonna place my chicken breasts, and then I'm gonna cover them with my chicken broth. And since that's just barely covered, I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more water to this. You want them covered with about a good inch of liquid. And then I'm gonna turn my heat on to high and bring this to a boil. Now, if you want to skip this step entirely, you definitely could. You could use already cooked and chopped up chicken, but I'm gonna let this come to a boil. And then once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna turn down the heat, put a lid on this, and let it continue to simmer for about 10-15 minutes, or however long it takes for the chicken to reach an internal temp of 165. I let my chicken cook about 15 minutes. I've got it over here on plate to cool. And now with this water, I'm gonna take my spaghetti, pour it in there, and cook my spaghetti in here for probably only about 4 or 5 minutes. It's thin spaghetti and I only wanna cook it until al dente. And the nice thing about cooking the spaghetti in this broth is all that broth flavor is gonna get infused into the spaghetti noodle for a little extra flavor. So I'm gonna let that cook for, like I said, about 4 or 5 minutes, and then I'm going to pull it out. Okay, I've got my pasta cooked and drained, so I'm gonna pour it in a large bowl here. I also went ahead and reserved about 2 cups of that broth that the chicken and the pasta cooked in. So now I'm gonna go ahead and cut up my chicken. It's cooled enough to where I can work with it. And I ended up getting just about 16 ounces. It's just under, it's like 15.8. So I'm gonna cut this up and then I will be back. Oh, also I've got my oven preheating at 350 right now. I've got my chicken all cut up, so I'm gonna add that in. My pasta, and then I'm gonna add in about a cup of this broth to start. My can of cream and mushroom soup, all of my veggies, and about a cup of this cheese. I'm gonna reserve about a 1/2 cup for the top. Then I'm gonna add in some fresh ground black pepper. Again, you can add salt if you want. I'm not going to. I am gonna add the Lori's seasoning salt though, probably about a teaspoon. And then just a little bit of this chili powder. And I'm gonna mix all of this together. As I'm mixing this, I am thinking it needs a little bit more chicken broth, so maybe another half cup. Okay, that's looking pretty good. It's got enough moisture in here, so it's hopefully not gonna dry out in the oven. And I did use just about 1.5 cups of that chicken broth to get it looking like this. So now I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna pour it into this pan after I spray it with a little bit of cooking spray, which I probably don't need to because this is non-stick, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And this isn't quite a 13 by 9 inch pan, but it's close enough to that. So now I'm gonna just pour this in. And then I'm gonna smooth it in my pan. And now I'm gonna bake this at 350 for about 30 minutes. I let this bake for 35 minutes. I'm gonna take my remaining cheese and evenly spread this on the top. And then I'm gonna bake this for another 10 minutes or until that cheese is nice and melted.
All right, I got a fill-in for my wife. So, I cooked it, I believe, for another 10 minutes after she put the cheese on. So let's pull this out. You can tell it nice and melted and looks pretty good. So here's another view of it. So we're gonna let it sit and cool for a bit, and then we'll divide it up into sixths and give it a taste.
And here's a serving of that, which is a 1/6 of the total casserole. And for me, this is gonna be 4 points. I'm gonna have my hubby try this because this was the first time I've made this. I don't know if I said that in the beginning of the video, but this was the first of doing this, so we'll get him to tell us what he thinks of it. We've got a panting Rocky down here, if you hear that.
Yeah, that's really good. So it's got a really nice chicken flavor, you know.
Yeah, it's got a pound of chicken in it.
But and I can taste the cream of mushroom in there, and the cheese. I don't know. It doesn't. I think the seasoning's right on.
Not too salty for you?
No, I know we were worried about that a little bit.
Yeah, I was worried about that a little bit, even though I didn't add additional salt since I cooked the chicken and the noodles in chicken broth and then added the Lori's. Thought it might be a little too salty for him, but
Yeah, I mean that's real. It's not. I'm gonna say it's rich. It's not overly rich. It was very savory. Yeah, it tastes really good.
have you ever had the original of this? Because I haven't actually either.
I don't think so.
It just looked good.
Yeah.
All right, so that is my lightened up version of chicken spaghetti casserole by the Pioneer Woman. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you as always for watching, and we will see you on the next one.